Good morning. Welcome to a Thursday edition of The Great Unfolding. All right, to continue on with this article here. Let no one judge you. The decrees issued from Jerusalem were partly concerned with food. The nations were not allowed to eat anything which had been strangled or blood. Acts 15:20. Now the apostle puts an end to such prohibitions. The law of Moses dealt with such matters as food and drink, the details of a festival, the new moons, and the Sabbaths, not that it might make those who kept it perfectly thereby, but partly at least in order to foreshadow the true perfection of the future in connection with Christ. He is the true food and drink. The festivals point to his work, and the Sabbath to the cessation of all work for salvation in him. All of these have a future fulfillment on the earth, hence have their place with the people of the earth, but not with us, whose destiny is different. Let no one arbitrate against you. Israel had a divine ritual. It would have been high-handed presumption for anyone of the people to enter the holy places. Such a one would send his representative or messenger, the priest in his place, and not without due regard to the formalities prescribed by the Mosaic ritual. It seems like real humanity today to take a far-off stand and allow another to take our place in approach to God by means of elaborate rites and splendid ceremonies, which appeal to the eye, but is a sham. The mind of the flesh can actually pride itself on this humility, and turn against those who consider themselves fit for God's presence, for no other reason than their confidence in Christ. Holding the head. Ritual calls for the intervention of intermediate messengers, such as priests or clergy, and these take the place which belongs to Christ as the head of the body. Ritual demands an organization rather than a living organism, in which each member is in living connection with the head. We should hold fast the head and reject all interfering substitutes. Ritual demands stagnation. Faith brings growth. Occupation with the shadows and symbols is not to be compared with vital union with him to whom they point. Let us not be subject to these, but to be living to our head, and grow into the assurance of our completeness in him, where no rites or ceremonies are needed to finish our perfection. It's only Christ. That's it. Our head. Death to the elements of the world. In Christ we died to everything which is against us. In him we died to sin. Romans 6:2. Those under the law died to it. Galatians 2:19. We have been crucified to the world. Galatians 6:14. The elements of the world have their proper place in the past, in Israel. During their minority, they were enslaved to these elements. Galatians 4:3. When the Galatians were back to these things, they scrutinized days, months, and seasons and years. Galatians 4:9 and 10. The elements are poor and infirm, yet there is a continual tendency on the part of the saints to fall back to them. Religion is practically composed of them, but we died to them. We were living in the world as Israel was under the law. Then were we living in the world as Israel was under the law? Then we would have a part in the religious system called Christendom, with rules and regulations and a ritual to be observed, just as most of the saints are. Then, indeed, all would be negative. You shall not touch this or taste that, nor make contact with the other. These regulations are made by men, and seem to be wise measures for the conduct of religious worship. How much better that all churches go through the same ritual each Sunday, and what an advantage that all observe the same calendar and the same festivals each year. That's just like every frickin' holiday on this planet. Christmas, New Year, every year. There's always something that they try to celebrate which is worthless, literally worthless. From the standpoint of the world, this all seems excellent, but it is fit for infants, not for full-fledged saints. Willful humility has no value in God's sight. In one of the great confessions in a foreign country, every time the Lord's Supper is observed, the whole congregation must repeat together something like the following. I, poor, miserable, sinful creature, confess herewith all my sins. Yet after reiterating this for a lifetime, most of them never realize that they are anything of the kind. In other places, they fast and castigate themselves. But all of this is powerless to effect its purpose. All of it is directed toward the improvement of the flesh. That's it. Yet it only serves to make it worse. We have died to the elements of the world and are mature in Christ. Hence, pay no heed to human decrees, soul or spirit. Philosophy is dependent on human experience, which is abnormal at present. Hence, it cannot reason to any satisfactory conclusion. Religion seeks to deal with the sensations rather than the spirit, hence lacks permanent power. Both utterly fail to settle the problems with which they deal. They are essentially soulish, not spiritual. Christ and his cross and his crown are the only satisfactory solution to the riddle of the universe. He exemplifies God's wisdom and God's righteousness. He is all that God needs to effect the purpose of his love with creation. He is all we need in order to fully fit us for that perfection. He is our philosophy and our religion, if there was any such thing in that respect. Religion and philosophy suck. This article was done by Enoch. I know back then when he wrote it as if like most of the saints, which would be religious saints, people who do ritual. These are not saints. These are dumb dupes, I would call them, because, yeah, they're going after religion and ritual. We're not of that sort. So we are the true saints in Christ. That's why when we can say the word saint, we mean it that we are saints in Christ. It's nothing to do with us. Everything to do with Christ, our head. We're part of his body. I love you all. Have a beautiful Thursday. We will see you tomorrow.